It's Spoilerin time, folks. This is the companion show to Cordkillers. On Cordkillers, we look at the news, we figure out how to watch things, where they are, how to watch them, what the hardware is. Then when we watch them, we come over here to Spoilerin time and we get to talk about them. This week, we're going to talk about episode 10 of season 2 of Hannibal, episode 1 of the Netflix show Jupiter's Legacy, and the movie Nobody. I'm Tom Merritt. He's Brian Brushwood.
Heck yeah, dude. Man, I just want to dive right in. Where are we going to start?
We're starting on Nobody.
Let's start with Nobody.
Nobody.
I'm just Nobody. Okay, so the full story about how I ended up watching Nobody is I was out on a run. I think it was on a Saturday, and I get text messages, and my headphones start reading these text messages from Bryce, Justin, and Brian about the movie Nobody. Brian, you started the chain by saying you all have to watch Nobody. And Justin and Bryce were like, yeah, dude, we already watched it. And I hadn't. So I took a video of myself saying, I'm on a run, but I'll figure out what all this means later. And when I got home, I saw it was the Bryan Cranston movie. I was like, oh, yeah, I definitely need to
Bob
watch
Odenkirk.
that. Oh, I'm sorry, Bob Odenkirk, not Bryan Cranston. Apologies to both of them.
I thought it was David Cross.
Confusing.
Is that?
Yeah. So the David Cross movie, Somebody. No. I then immediately decided to watch Nobody. We set it up to be for Spoilerin time. I asked my wife, who doesn't always want to watch the things that I need to watch for shows, was like, oh, yeah, I'll watch that. It was only like an hour and a half, so not a huge time commitment. Sat down, enjoyed the hell out of it. What a great movie where every time I thought, oh, okay, so this is what it's about. It wasn't until it was very clear what it was, and there was no escaping what it was, which, I don't know, was probably like an hour into the movie by that point.
Yeah, and since we're full on spoilerin, that was the delight is it really rewarded people who know just enough Hollywood storytelling to know, like, oh, guy with a family is going to go on a rampage.
Yeah.
That means the family has to die.
Oh, it's John Wick.
Yes.
Oh, It actually helped to know that the John Wick guy wrote it, because it led me to expect things that were only partly true.
And now the whole casting makes sense, because if you want to surprise people and subvert expectations, you can't recast Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie to do the sequel to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. You got to get new actors, and Bob Odenkirk and Connie Nielsen, who I've been in love with since Mission to Mars, they were fantastic in this sequel to Mr. and Mrs. Smith. It's great. And when they do the trilogy...
We didn't get as much out of Mrs. Smith here, necessarily.
Yeah. Well, when they do the trilogy, the third one's going to be all Connie Nielsen kicking ass, and I am on board for that movie.
There you go.
Oh, you know what?
Yeah.
They did dodge saying enough that
she's an assassin.
They had to meet each other somehow. Oh, doggone it. I can't believe. Yeah.
And it
Trilogy.
was like old times when she was patching him up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. So it broke all the rules. It's like, oh no. This is an everyday man who's bullied by his environment and his work and stuff. He has to lose his family. Nope, he didn't lose his family. But surely grandpa is disposable. Nope. He kicks ass. Literally there's not a single person that it's nothing but disposable Russians as far as the eyes can see. And with the chief among them clearly being modeled on the King of Polka, the real life guy.
And can I say, I love the, I don't even know what to call it, like reverse one-upsmanship of like John Wick. It's like, oh, what motivated you to kill all those people? Like, oh, they killed my dog and my wife recently passed. Oh, okay. What did they do to motivate your guy? Oh, his daughter lost a kitty cat bracelet and he murdered everyone. That's all it took.
It wasn't actually stolen.
That's all it took.
It
was misplaced. He doesn't even care. How are you going to compete with that?
Well, that was the beautiful scene on the bus where I started the light started to go on in the bus scene of like, oh, he's just been repressing what he is for so long that he can't hold back anymore. And he's such a good dad that he stopped his son from beginning down the path, with that. And I totally get that, but he needs to let loose. And I'm like, okay. But at that point I had learned, like, what you expect is not what's going to happen. I was like, what happens now? Like, who on this bus is the problem? Is it the gang going to come back after him? And then, of course, pretty quickly you realize, like, oh, Russians. Yeah, of course. They're all tied together in this little world that we're in. And then they're like, oh, no. It's not just that the Russians are against him. It's that it will now be all-out war between him and the entire world of Russian mafia because he burns all of their money.
And I love how they did the fight sequence and all the fight sequences, how it was kind of like a sloppier, like your protagonist is getting punched and stabbed because he is, no offense to anybody in the room, he is a middle-aged white guy who moves at a certain pace.
What?
And like for instance, it goes into what I call the Jason Statham uncanny valley effect. When you have a guy like that doing clean martial arts where he is winning the whole time, I don't want to monopolize too much time here, but like, check this out. You can actually see like the stunt be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 1 and 2 and nobody move and let me do something cool and bam.
Oh my God,
and
you're so right.
Charlize Theron, you can see to a lesser extent, she's a little faster. 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and, but then
don't
we
let
get
me see this. I can't.
Then we
unsee
get
this.
to our actual. Then we get to an actual martial artist, our boy Iko, who's worked with Brian.
Like Uwais. Yeah, who
you
we
can't even
worked
count.
with.
How are you going to count that? Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Just get in there and punch, Iko. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
And that is the difference between casting, a regular person who didn't spend their last 10 years martial arts and dance school, and they got to move a certain way. But with this movie, they're like, yeah, they're going to get some hits in on you because you can't move that fast. And they did, and it was beautiful.
Well, one of the beautiful fogs that they put over me was, again, going back to the bus scene, when he starts, he's rusty. And it's very clear that he knows what he should be doing, but his body just isn't reacting, partly because he's older, partly because he hasn't done this in a while. And he's like, crap, I screwed that up. Okay, let me recover and do this. Like, the smarts are there. It's very clear that he always knows what the next beat can be for him to gain the advantage, but he doesn't always make it to it. Because he hasn't done this in a while and he's getting older. And then as the show goes on, as the movie progresses, he gets a little faster, he gets a little better because he's getting his old mojo back. But of course, like you're saying, John, he never actually gets that good at it because he's Bob Odenkirk, right? No disrespect, but he's not
His
actually a fighter.
superpower is that
but
he
I've been
doesn't
lured
mind.
into thinking he's improving, so it doesn't cause any dissonance.
And I
at all.
apologize to Brian and anyone out there if I ruin Jason Statham for you forever.
That's fine. But it is funny because like I just consider within the rules of the movie, because this leans very heavily into training you as to the movie's rules. Within the rules, he can be punched forever and you will never feel him being threatened.
Yes.
You will fear for his family or his dad or whatever.
He can be stabbed, he won't bleed out. It'll never be an important part.
That's correct. One of the things I love the most about this is you think it's a movie about a man who has nothing to lose and goes crazy, but what there were 2 moments, or I guess 3, where his shadow got significantly longer. The best one is the moment he's going in and you think he's out of his depth, pretending to be an FBI guy to find out about the tattoo. And somebody's mocking him and, clearly a Vietnam vet. And then he catches just a glimpse of a tattoo that we don't know what it means. Dude says, "Thank you for your service," goes
Click,
out.
clock,
And just comically long. And the longer, and then you're like, well, something's going on here, right? And then I think it was the second moment was when he gets thrown out the window of the bus and he turns around and puts up a finger like, "Excuse me," and then gets back in the bus. You're like, okay, what's going on? And then the third moment is when the Russians research him, and then just that person says, "Somebody owes me a favor." She walks in and she opens the door, throws the documents, and says, "No charge, I quit. Bye."
Bye. I'm out. Good luck.
So great.
Yeah. There were some beats that even though they didn't work as well, I didn't care because I was having so much fun and it was within the spirit. Like RZA being the strange brother that's only available by radio and says, when he says like, I'm definitely not going to come to back you up, you're like, oh, okay, so we'll be seeing
So
him
let's
shortly.
write that
Like,
one down on the to-do list.
Yeah. But it was great. I loved seeing the weird family reunion again, leaving it up for sequels to explain the backstory a little more there. It was great.
Also, it was a perfect video. I loved it when it was called Far Cry, the video game. I loved the crafting parts of Far Cry and the trap setting of Far Cry.
Yeah, the Home Alone sequence, last house on the left. It was great.
I was just all in on it at this point.
And as much as I may be facetious when I talk about a trilogy, but I would love to see Connie Nielsen kicking some ass in the next movie.
I think you ruined it for me. I think that's exactly what's going to happen.
I hope so, because I have been in love with her forever.
The big surprise of episode 2 will be that she's, I think either assassin or a sniper or a spy or a seductress or whatever.
I'm on board.
Yeah, and then
So
the
is the
third
next
one will
one
be the both of them.
somebody or anybody?
Good question.
Somebody, or what the last one was called, Everybody.
I think it's going to be called Now You See Me Part 2.
Oh, geez, I don't know. I have thoughts.
Yeah, man, this was fun. So many moments. I got to give a shout out to the moment where he walks out of the burning down his house, stops, unlocks his car, and stops and goes,
Yeah.
I think I'll steal the asshole next door's car instead.
Also,
Why not?
the idea of a specially treated record, that was a beautiful scene when you drop the needle on it,
right.
and it's
Yes,
all over.
yes.
Like both times I saw it with someone else, they were like, "Ooh, that's nice." Like everyone.
Is that a real thing? Is that a hypothetically possible?
We could find out, but I would imagine if the needle was made of ferrocerium and the record was made maybe treated with combustible something or other, and you were able to, similar to a flint and steel, grind across it maybe. But
I guess I'm just thinking in modern rogue terms right now.
Yeah.
Like if we could get a record to start sparks.
And also loved the whole "To Dream the Impossible Dream" segment,
and the music, the soundtrack, like it was used so beautifully. Unlike, I hate to say it, but I just recently watched it, but like Atomic Blonde, where the music is just like a soundtrack for a cool DJ is playing at you. You remember this? Isn't that retro? Isn't that cool? You dig this music?
Yeah. No, the music choices were definitely inspired.
Yeah.
All right. That is the movie Nobody, starring Bob Odenkirk. Now let's talk about Jupiter's Legacy. We're just going to talk about episode 1, even though Netflix put it all out. We're gonna dole these out just a couple, one at a time for the first couple, and then we'll probably be watching 2 at a time towards the end. But this week, By Dawn's Early Light, about the old superheroes of this world, the Miller world, led by the Utopian and the Utopian's young son, who is not quite as good. I know it sounds like Invincible, but it's not. It's Jupiter's Legacy.
So I made the mistake of, I'm not the mistake, but I did peek in on Rotten Tomatoes first, and I saw that
Great website.
At the time, it had critics rating of like 28% fresh, which is usually an indication that I'm not going to enjoy something. And all of a sudden, I feared this was homework. And then I started it, and then you're right, Tom. The beginning looks an awful lot like Invincible, and I just watched Invincible, and it was very, very good. And I became a little bit worried. Then it snapped back to the 1920s. And I'm like, all right, go on.
That was more fun. Okay.
And then it got into some decent action sequences, and the way all of the heroes interchangeably use their hero name and then say Mrs. So-and-so. I mean, whatever, is really interesting. The generational thing, the fact that they implied that superheroes are a thing that was invented in this timeline.
And we see the superheroes before they have their powers in 1929. And in this episode, we still don't know how they got their powers, but we know it was painful. They didn't just inherit them like kids these days.
I will say, I liked that Utopian, whatever his name is,
Yeah,
seems to be
utopia.
like genuine old-fashioned grandpa, uh, um, God and country, live by a code, do those things. And this that scene where he's speculating, or they're talking about like, we could have done something during World War II, and I'm just like, nice hat tip to the Watchman there. And it's like, where does that end, Vietnam? But I will say this much. I was very pleasantly surprised, but I went in with very low expectations. I will say, steel yourself right this minute for, if you've already watched Invincible, just try to reset your palate. And then finally, I'll say, hoo boy, that old people makeup is garbage. They all look awful and it's poorly done. And the only reason I can imagine that it is this way is because they're all going to die next episode and they didn't want to spend the budget to make them look convincingly old at all.
It looks like a high school play.
Yeah.
The problem I have with this is the pace. I feel like Netflix may be doing this on purpose, because it's a criticism I've had of several of their shows, not every one, but several of them, where it just takes too long, especially in the early half of this episode. And I wonder if Netflix does this because they know a lot of people watch it distracted.
Real quick.
That people watch it in the background, watch it while they're doing other things, watch it on a laptop. And they're like, they want to leave a lot of space for you to catch up and go, oh, okay, now I get what's going on. But man, is it draggy. I love the beats, though. I love the situation of like, wait, so why did they become superheroes and how did they become superheroes? I love the twist at the end where they find Black Star in the prison and he's like, with me, I don't know what you're talking about. They're like, oh, okay. How do we get two Black Stars? That's interesting. Is it time travel? Is it cloning? So I'm loving those little beats of like, yes, we don't kill. We could have intervened in World War II and we don't. And you feel like, oh no, there's a real legitimate foundation. This isn't a shallow belief, but also you're sympathetic to the son who is like, yeah, but I had to. You would have died. There wasn't another way. We were all going to die. We were going to lose. And that sets up a really interesting dynamic there as well. So I like the story. It's just taking a little longer to tell it than I would prefer.
Yeah, and on top of that, there is an interesting dynamic, at least for the next episode, of whether or not the son will be forgiven for, maybe it'll turn out to be a clone, an alien, or not human, or whatever. And does that make it okay that he did a kill shot or whatever? But the idea that in the face of an announced incoming thermonuclear explosion, Utopian still refuses to kill is interesting. John, if you could pull up that picture that you had earlier of the guy in the chair. I swear the makeup on the old people stuff is so bad. Tell me that if you had to bet money, Tom, is that a video game cutscene or is that a frame?
It's a BBC production of a Shakespearean play.
I get it. Y'all don't like the makeup. It doesn't bother me at all,
It just looks so uncanny valley. It's bizarre. It really looks like it's 3D rendered. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's back when Patrick Stewart was 29 years old and playing Hamlet's father.
I feel like we're all in the 50-50 on it.
Yeah.
Right now.
Did you give it a try, John?
No, I did not have time to dive into this one.
No.
Looks fun. I'm on board to catch up, but no, did not catch it.
Yeah, definitely see
that
Invincible.
is Jupiter's Legacy, episode 1 of season 1. We will watch just episode 2 next week. Let's talk about Hannibal, season 2, episode 10, Naka Choco, where this is really more about Will and Hannibal and the psychology between them, and Margot and her brother. Hannibal and Will both visit. It's a departure from the normal episode, which they've done before, and then they go back to the Monster of the Week stuff. But what did you think of this, Brian?
Hated it. I hated this episode. I absolutely hated what they've done to the story. I hate that somebody got bored and said, well, we have to introduce new villains and new things. And what if he went evil? And it's like, it's all padded room, silly pro wrestling now. Heels turned faces, faces turned heels. I can't think of a time I lost interest in a series much faster than this.
That's a very extreme reaction to this episode. I'm a little
And
surprised.
That's been spoiler time. Enjoy the show.
Well, and if I can double down on my case, we completely lack an anchor, and for a brief moment, Freddie, what's her name, was our anchor.
Freddie
And,
Lowndes.
yeah, now she's dead, and so we are completely rudderless and without anchor, and everybody's evil, and that's not, you know what? I'd say that's fine, but I will never forget this moment for the rest of the series. They're going to have to introduce brand new characters. I mean, I don't know. I hate everyone. I hate everyone in the show right now, except, I mean, and I only pity Jack Crawford. That's where I'm at.
So the things that happened that I think are contributing to your opinion are Will killing.
Yes.
For real.
Yes.
Like not in self-defense, not justifiably, like killing Lowndes, which I was surprised by. I thought it was going to be a misunderstanding. I thought it was going to be Will taking it too far or trying to intimidate, but it does not appear to be that. It appears to be, and it wouldn't be the first time Hannibal has misled us, but it appears to be that he killed Lowndes on purpose, and is proud of it. And is showing Hannibal that he is making progress. In fact, he brings the meat, and we are to assume that it's Freddie.
Now, hold on. I thought it was so apparent that oh, damn you, Hannibal. Now that I think about it, I can't remember actually seeing any murder. And I'm thinking of clever ways Will could have gotten his hands on some human meat. Damn you, Hannibal, for being so clever.
I mean, it looks like pork. He calls it long pig, but maybe it's just a really long genetically engineered pig.
No, I mean, I would assume that he had a master plan and got his hands on a real body. It's not Freddy's, but it is human flesh. Oh, then allow me to amend my analysis is provisionally, because you're right. Hannibal has built up an immense amount of trust, and it's never done us wrong. It would be very, very weird for it to suddenly become a very bad show. So now you are introducing the possibility that this was a ruse, and it makes me want to go back and watch that ending again to...
It's hard to tell. I'm not convinced that it is a ruse, but I'm definitely holding the possibility open that it might be. Because the other direction this does seem to maybe be going is Margot is the next in Hannibal's collection, and that he's creating a super team of serial killers that he's the president of, and Will is one and Margot is the next, and Will and Margot, get it on in this. So Will obviously is entertaining Margot, which could also be Will trying to infiltrate Hannibal's new super team, possibly. I don't know.
I mean, the more I think about it, the more I think you have to be right, and this has to be a crazy ruse. But they certainly... Okay. So if he didn't kill Freddie Lowndes, then he definitely did desecrate the body under the tutelage of Hannibal, which he could have done kind of undercover. He probably did eat human flesh at the end on purpose, with the, again, being undercover. And so in his mind, it could be that he's only playing along, and as long as oh man, what are you doing to me, Tom?
I'm not doing it, man. Hannibal's doing it. He messes with you. This is what he does, Brian.
Well, I know it would be very, very weird for it to suddenly become a very bad show. So I think you're
convinced
right.
that was actually Tyr's body until they showed the jawbone. And when they showed the jawbone, I'm like, well, okay, I don't think he'd go so far as to fake a jawbone, but
well, and plus also,
I don't know what to believe. What I'm saying.
Okay, rerunning the ending of that. Freddie Lowndes comes in. She discovers the jawbone. And maybe this, oh my God. Okay, Will. Okay, I'm doing Will. Wah, wah. This is my design. I have to desecrate this body. He's already dead anyway. It is gross, but it will allow me to catch Hannibal. This is my design. I'm going to take this jawbone. I'm going to put it on my property in a place where I know Freddie Lowndes will find it. This is my design. I'm not going to answer the door so that Freddie Lowndes investigates, so she finds it.
So she calls Crawford.
That's right. So we get the screams, and then I will pull her away. I will sit her down, and I will explain my crazy bonkers plan. This is my design. Then I will go and eat. I will tell Hannibal that this is Freddie Lowndes' body. I will eat some kind of human flesh because he's so good. He knows he's going to be able to recognize it. And it will convince Hannibal that I am truly his disciple. This is my design. Damn it, Tom, that's exactly what it's got to be. Now all of a sudden it's a good episode. How did you do that? How did you do that?
It's all perspective, right?
What are you, the Hannibal of podcasts?
Yeah, this is my design. Right.
See, and Brian's just pretending to like the episode now to infiltrate your podcast.
Across the whole time. Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to watch the next episode to find out. That's all I got on Hannibal, episode 10, season 2.
Was that the season finale?
All right, folks. No, we have 13. They do.
Okay,
right. They do 13. I'm double checking.
But it might be my temporary finale, at least for the moment.
Why is that?
Because next week, presumably, Bryce will be back.
Oh my gosh, is it already time?
Really?
Yeah, it's been a month.
Oh, I thought we had another week of John.
You guys had me 4 times, and I'll probably be back. I mean, now that
like
Bryce is reasonably assured that I can do this, I think he's going to want to take advantage of that sometimes.
It's awesome.
We should just have you back as a guest so you could sit there and watch Bryce.
Oh, God, that would be so nice. But this has been wonderful.
Thank you very much, John.
Do all of that. John, it's been great. Thank you for being here. I can't believe we're already done.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
All right.
Well, folks, next week on Spoilerin Time, some hacks coming in to run the show, so it won't be as good. But
don't say that. We're happy to have Bryce back.
No, of course. We're super happy to have Bryce back. We're super sorry to see John go. We are excited to talk about Jupiter's Legacy, Episode 2, Hannibal, Season 2, Episode 11, and watch the movie The Treasure of the Sierra Madre as a library watch. So
I might have to catch that and join you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, there you go. Come and catch us on Spoiler Time. That'd be amazing. All of that next week. Until then, we will spoil you next time.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.